lot of back and forth with Donald Trump. Leaders have been questioning his thought process, some of his ideas. A lot of people that voted for Donald Trump in the last election are also questioning their decision and choices. And there are questions as to what the return of President Trump to the White House in the United States would bring for Americans and the entire world. And that's going to be our only area of focus today on the Roundtable. Political Roundtable, mainland 98.3 FM. We are blessed with Barrister 괶 Msoɪᴟ in the studio, who is going to talk a lot about some of these issues. A lot of these issues, actually. We've been having some conversations even before the show, giving very interesting perspectives to some of the policy decisions of President Donald J. Trump, who is the 47th president of the United States of America. The BBC did a comprehensive list of the things he has done in the last 3 weeks. We're going to touch on maybe about 6 or 7 of them. They did about 15 to 17 critical issues, major issues that Donald Trump has touched on, either by executive orders or an attempt really to just give directives on what should be done on some of these issues. It's nice to have you in the studio by 괶 Msoɪᴟ. A lot that we're going to talk about really today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Yes, a lot for us to talk about. Interesting times, actually. Very, very interesting times as far as U.S. politics is concerned. Let's look at the list and we'll take it one after the other. We're going to be very methodical about these issues. The first one is the proposed takeover of Gaza by the United States of America. Some of us find it laughable, really, but that is an idea that is coming from the President of the United States of America, and it's important that we take it serious. That's the first list, according to the BBC, of the interesting policy decisions of President Donald Trump. The second one, there's a plan to put thousands of USAID staff on leave. We're seeing very interesting take of Mr. Trump. President Trump. It started already. I think some of the staff has accepted.
I was with one yesterday.
So we're also going to look at that. This idea of him thinking that, look, we just have to put a complete end to USAID. It's America first. We can't be throwing our monies around. He's talked about corruption in the system. I think he also alleged that there were celebrities who have been paid through the USAID. So he thinks it's a complete waste of money, and the US should keep those monies to itself, and that, look, the rest of the world can take care of themselves. That will also be one of the issues we're going to touch on, as compiled by the BBC. He had threatened to impose tariff on Canada and Mexico, but instead what he has done is to impose tariff on China, and then there's a pullback. He's giving like a month, really, waiver on a possible tariff on Canada and Mexico, his closest neighbors, actually. So that's also one issue we're going to be looking at, the implications really of that policy decision by President Donald Trump. Then there's also the sanction on the ICC, the International Criminal Court. Why will a signatory to the International Criminal Court Code of Practice, a country like the US, who has been in the forefront of holding leaders all over the world accountable for genocide, bringing them to the ICC for prosecution, suddenly saying that, look, some of the individuals at the ICC should be sanctioned. It's also one conversation we're going to have this evening. Well, there are also some decisions on him ordering strikes against Islamic State group in Somalia. There's also the withdrawal from some UN institutions by President Donald Trump. He has also sent the first plane of deportees to Guantanamo Bay. That has also caused a lot of questions as to how President Trump is actually handling this idea of deporting undocumented migrants from the United States of America. We've also seen questions from some of the home countries of these deportees as to how they are being handled. They've talked about treating them decently. Why do you have to put deportees on military aircrafts? But probably the first time the United States will be doing something like that. They are saying that these guys are not criminals. Treat them with some level of dignity. But we've seen those things happen. I think Colombia was going to resist it. They were threatened with tariff and they had to just back down. But it's also one interesting conversation we're going to have on the roundtable this evening. And of course, there's a demand from Ukraine to provide rare earth materials if they're going to get continuous support against Russia. Of course, we know Ukraine is blessed with uranium, lithium, and titanium. And Trump thinks that, look, if you want us to continue to give you money, provide some of these raw materials to us. We'll give you all the support against Russia. There are people who think that, look, that is at variance with the idea of even ending the war in the first place. What exactly do you want to do? Is it going to be a bargain? Is it transactional? Do you have a template to end the war in Russia? Also, one conversation.
I was going to end the war in a week.
Well, it's 3 weeks now. So, and then there's this ban on transgender competitors from women's sport. Of course, a lot of Nigerians actually like that. They think it's hard on this LGBTQ nonsense, and so there are people who just give him the support because of those things. And then, of course, he has announced a task force to tackle anti-Christian bias. Mr. Collins will help me understand that. He's talking about anti-Christian bias, and
that's a red meat to the evangelical.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that. So,
we're also fighting him for appointing Paula White.
So a lot really to talk about that. That's why we just decided to limit it so that people understand some of these things, get educated about some of these issues, open their minds up to some of these issues. Now, he has also removed climate change mention from government website. Anything climate change removed from government website. It does not believe in anything called climate change. So it's ordered the removal of climate change mention from every US government website. And then there's an increase of access to Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. It's a trendy acronym now in the United States, the DOGE. This Department of Government Efficiency, Donald Trump has set up, and Elon Musk is in charge. A lot of questions from some Americans who voted for Trump. Who did we vote for to be POTUS? Is it Elon Musk or you? So don't worry, we got into these issues. And then, very interesting, Barrister Curtis is also revoked the security clearance for access to classified documents of Joe Biden. And he didn't hide the reason why he's doing that. You did it to me, I do it to you. Do me, I do you. That's Donald Trump. And it's not because of anything. You did it to me when you became president. And I'm doing it because you did it to me, not because you are a security threat to the United States. That's against what Joe Biden did when there was insurrection, the attack on the Capitol, where he thought that, look, it's just dangerous to continue to allow Donald Trump access to classified security documents. And then a lot of other issues. But Mr. Curtis Adigba, nice to have you on the show. Good evening.
Thanks for having me, and good evening to the listeners.
Okay, now we'll go straight to these issues. We'll go straight to these issues. It's a critical review of Trump's major policies since becoming the 47th president of the United States of America, and we're looking at the global and domestic implications of some of these issues. We are streaming the show live on Facebook. It's also on YouTube. You can also listen to us via the Radio Garden platform. It's an interactive show, so you have the opportunity to also call in to be a part of the show. Let's go straight to the issue, Barrister Curtis Adigba. This proposed takeover of Gaza by the U.S. by President Donald Trump, at a joint press conference with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House on Tuesday. President Trump said the U.S. would take over and own Gaza, resettling its Palestinian population in the process. Trump proposed developing the territory devastated after 15 months of war between Israel and Hamas into a riviera of the Middle East. He thinks that, look, that land is a demolition site. It doesn't make any sense. He says he looks at it and he sees a beautiful real estate. He sees it as a place that can be rebuilt, and that after this war, Israel will hand it over to the U.S. They begin to build it, and his proposal is that, look, whoever we move from there, these Palestinians we are removing from there, if they remain, they will still die. So why would they want to remain and die? And his proposal is that Egypt, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and some other rich countries of the Gulf states will take these guys. And and in one of the things I've seen on CNN, Jared Kushner, his son-in-law, in an old interview, I think about 2 or 3 years ago, had also said that, look, whenever he sees the waterfront, the beach waterfront of Gaza, he sees beautiful real estate. Jared Kushner is actually a Jew. And so there's a lot of talk about how Trump wants to implement this idea? How does he want to do it? 2 million people to be displaced, removed. How do you want to do it, Pastor Curtis? Let's see. Let's see to this.
I think first and foremost, people must understand that Trump is transactional and is territorial.
Transactional and territorial.
In the course of the campaign, Trump was very clear about wanting to take over the Panama Canal. Greenland belongs to Denmark, and a few other places in the world. And people thought he was joking. Now, he also talked about making Canada the 51st state
yes,
of the United States.
And Justin Trudeau is saying that, look, he's not joking.
Yeah.
Just yesterday,
that's the mindset.
Trump is joking. He has the mindset.
That's the mindset of the man. So, but again, like I've always said, elections have consequences. These were the things that Muslim Americans and Muslims all over the world were warned about Donald Trump, that he's a threat to Islam as a religion. He's a threat to global peace. It's a threat to everything that has to do with the stability of the world. Oh, but they said, oh no, we like him. He does whatever he says. Look, and the event or the setting where he telegraphed that message was horrible. Here you have a right-wing Israeli leader,
Benjamin Netanyahu,
who cobbled together, a coalition that keeps Likud party in Israel in power, sitting with an American president. Right before the Israeli prime minister, an American president makes a pronouncement that says he wants to take over the land that is known as Gaza, belonging to the Palestinians. In other words, he doesn't believe in the two-state solution, and he wants to uproot them completely
from the ancestral land
and then go to do a transaction. Like he says, it's a real estate.
Maybe build Trump Tower.
I think that sent a lot of alarm all over the world. Because, how do you take out 2 million people from the land that they claim to be their own, their ancestral land? Part of the land currently is being occupied by Israel. And then you are saying that because they will die anyway if they remain on the land.
And who is killing them?
Don't forget that this was what he said in 2016. He told the blacks in America, what have you got to lose?
Yeah, what have you got to lose?
You have the worst houses.
So vote for me. Either ways.
So whether you vote for me or not, you have got nothing to lose.
No, your situation will not change.
Exactly. and people still went ahead
and voted for him.
So but I think that even though he's thrown out that idea, Trump is trying to see how people respond to such an idea from all over the world. And somehow, if you watch him carefully, as the master of dog whistle, he throws out an issue there and then he begins to see how people respond. He's taking a walk back a little bit now. When he was asked, do you have a timeline for taking over this land? He said, well, it's a long time from now. We're still watching the idea, but I think that is something that has to be done. Again, don't forget, and that tells you, that's why they said he's one of the most pro-Jewish American president. One of because you see, it was Trump who moved the capital of Israel from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem,
yeah, which has been a contentious issue for years, for decades. Yeah.
So this is not surprising, but the timing, and the sheer audacity of the whole idea, because this guy sees himself as an imperial president of the world, and that's the way he feels. Don't forget that in 2016, after he was elected as president in 2016, he called his generals in and said, look, why are we not taking the oil from Iraq? What are we doing providing security from Iraq and we're not taking the oil? And that's exactly what he's doing in Ukraine. Look, if you want our support, give us your precious metals, what we can use for other things. But this guy promised that first and foremost the war would not have started if he was president.
Now he doesn't.
And that once he becomes the president, he's going to
end it in a week.
Call these guys to one room and quickly end the war. Now he is saying a different thing altogether, because if Ukraine bows to him and gives him the precious metals, it means he's going to fund them and give them arms to fight Russia. That's exactly what he's saying. He's a master of double talk. Yes.
But again, like we've always discussed, seems like his supporters don't hold him to account. They don't hold him to any standard. I remember that when he talked about building the wall in his first term, in the southern borders, he told them that, look, we'll build the wall and Mexico will pay. He wasn't really able to build any wall, and Mexico did not pay.
Oh, he built some wall.
He built some wall, but not a wall that you can really say, well, based on the way he was talking about it, build the wall, Mexico will pay. Mexico did not pay anything. Now, it started again. We're going to move Palestinians out of Gaza, and the oil-rich nations will pay. I'm not going to pay. Because for everything that happens in the Middle East, there are global consequences for insecurity. Of course, you're going to see extremists who are going to say, you see what we've been talking about, there can't be a two-state solution, there can't be a problem, we just have to fight this war. Because look, for a lot of people who go into this extreme ideology and thinking, these are the kinds of things they sell to the people. Oh, look at the average radical Muslim will listen to this and say, look, we've been telling you, these guys want to exterminate us. Look at your brothers and sisters. Oh, you think these guys are really committed to a two-state solution? Do you think they are really committed to the peace in the Middle East? Look at what we've been saying. Don't you think, again, we're in times where global insecurity will be heightened by the kind of rhetoric we are getting from Donald Trump?
Well, I think I agree with you to some extent. But also, I think it's important that people understand that Trump is trying to redefine the American presidency. Trump wants to combine authoritarianism and democracy.
That's a strange combination.
In fact, I was listening to someone this afternoon who said, look, his White House is a court of loyalty where people come to pledge loyalty and allegiance. But look, the United States, a candle that actually draws its strength from its diversity. You can come from anywhere in the world and have an identity as an American. You can come from Japan and be Japanese American. You can come from Indonesia and be an Indo-American. You come from Africa or a Nigerian, you be a Nigerian American. You come from China, you are Chinese American. That never happens in any part of the world. I can't go to Japan and become a Nigerian Japan.
It's only in the US.
It's only in the US, and that's why.
And they have that identity.
It's a super group country. You come from anywhere in the world, practice your religion. Because the several amendments in the US Constitution guarantees you the protection of the US government. In some states now, you have the Festival of Light by Indians called the Diwali, especially in New Jersey. All over America, different kind of religion do exist, and people are afraid to practice them. Now, what this guy has come to do is to say, look, America belongs to Americans, and some Americans are not true Americans. So that's why you hear the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, saying he went to Latin America, met the president of El Salvador, who has agreed that even Americans who have been jailed in America can be taken as prisoner to El Salvador to go and be in prison. That's why you see him trying to deal with so many constitutional protections and guarantees. For instance, the birth citizenship and all that. Well, it's good that with the kind of mindset that Trump has brought to power. First and foremost, he said he wants to make America great again. Now, America, as far as Trump is concerned, was only great when the white people alone were in charge. All right. That's why you hear him say, after 2 planes collided in the air, killing 67 persons without any evidence, he said it was because the pilots were products of DEI.
Yes.
In other words,
without any evidence, investigation,
inclusion.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the problem. He's trying to remake America in the image of white America. He doesn't want people, and this
so any other person of color is less intelligent, is not deserving of any position.
That's very clear.
Even the military aircraft that collided with a commercial airline, without investigation, without evidence, you say, oh, because of this inclusion policy, they are recruiting people with less
right
IQ.
now. It has given an order. The use of the word DEI should be removed from all websites.
Maybe people need to understand the DEI.
I think people need to understand that DEI simply stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, and that is because the formative character of America as a nation of immigrants allows for all groups of people who come to America to congregate to reflect and represent the character of America as a nation that is receiving people from all over the
Nation
world.
of diversity.
You have the real Americans who were there before they came are people like the Cherokees, the Lacto, the Chakato,
call them the Red
Native Indians.
Native Indians.
Yes, the Native Indians. These were the people that those who came from Ireland, Scotland, and co had to displace, and then formed a nation called America. And then others came from different parts of Europe, from Belgium, from Germany. The Trumps are from Germany. His father, Fred Trump, came from Germany to set up in America. Married his mother, Marianne, from Scotland, and they both moved to America. So now he is saying that everything in America should be based on merit, which is not a bad idea.
Bad idea.
However, the problem is he believes that every person of color, whether you are black or brown, and you are in a position in America,
It's conditional.
the only reason why you are there is because of the color of your skin. No. And this is where a lot of people are getting it wrong. There is nobody who is on a seat that isn't supposed to be there. I had a conversation with my daughter who is in the tech industry and lives somewhere in the US. And she said to me that, you know what, each time we go for our meetings, sometimes I'm the only black person in the room, but I think I earn my place on the table. He said, what people don't understand, it's even good for us, black and brown people.
So it's not about concession.
No. He said it's even good for DEI to end.
So that
Because every time I am found in such meetings, people think that I am there because
Of DEI.
there's a need to give
great inclusion. That's why you are here.
Yes. Look at Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. She's at the Supreme Court, Justice of the Supreme Court, appointed by President Biden. Look at Amy Coney Barrett. She's also at the Supreme Court, appointed by Trump. The fact is, Justice Ketanji Brown was top of her class in Harvard. So, the sense in which they're interpreting the DEI is to make it look like when you find a black and brown person on the table or in a top employment, it's only there because of the color of the skin. No. The essential formative character of America is that America will reflect its diversity. And even in seeking that diversity, merit is not sacrificed. So if Harvard, for instance, says we want to give admission to 30 people, right? Among all that are qualified, probably scoring the same kind of
There should be that diversity and inclusion.
Harvard will not just go and pick people who are white alone, because they don't want their campus to look just white alone. So what they try to do is to say, okay, even among those who are qualified,
Let's create that diversity.
let's create that diversity and make our university reflect the essential character of America. Now, but Trump won't talk about things like legacy admission. Because legacy admission, for those who don't understand, is that if your parents or grandparents went to an Ivy League university in America,
You automatically get admitted.
you are qualified to go to that university. I don't know how many people remember that when President Obama, when their daughter Malia was going to go to school, she had choices of different universities, but Harvard was stopped because legacy. She was qualified, but their second daughter refused to go to any of the legacy school that the parents, because the wife went to Princeton and Harvard, and Barack went to Harvard and Columbia. She chose to go to University of Michigan. So she wanted to chart her own path. Now, you won't hear Trump complain about things like legacy admission. Trump went to University of Pennsylvania because his father Fred gave a lot of money to University of Pennsylvania. His own kids, Jared Kushner, met Ivanka in University of Pennsylvania. By the way, my daughter was also in University of Pennsylvania on merit. Not because of the color of her skin.
Well, they say it's the DAI.
So the point I'm trying to make here is that people do not understand that this guy is marinating racism
quietly, stylishly,
through certain policies. Now you heard Elon Musk saying, Mr. President, allow white South Africans to enter into America, but don't allow black Americans.
We're going to get there because again we are talking about this sanction on South Africa, on the takeover of lands from some whites.
So this was danger hiding in plain sight,
which some people talked about. No strong ideas,
and used to a particular system.
Just
children then was misbehaving, so he knows how that child of his to school in the morning, that the security man in his house should be jumping into Kekemaruwa with that boy to school. So they take the Kekemaruwa from their estate, they go and change to another one and all that. And after 8 days, he expected the young man to come and apologize to him and say, Dad, I won't do what I'm doing again. But it was the security man who came to him and said, sir, this thing you are doing is not working on this guy. He enjoys it because everywhere he goes, they are hailing him.
So it's counterproductive.
I think we need to change tact. So sometimes when you have something constantly, there's a tendency to take that thing for granted. So those Americans who never fought for liberty from the British,
they just came and started enjoying it,
and they have been enjoying the guardrails and protection of democracy, the blessings of democracy. So they don't know what it is. And so
maybe it's people like us.
Yes, they say, President Obama is weak, is feminine. Biden is weak and old. We want somebody very, very strong. Now they have a strong man, and they are crying.
Now let's go to this other issue. The government until a judge temporary for the USAID.
All government departments and agencies, but that again has been stopped by a judge.
Now for the USAID, Barrister Curtis, we've seen some Africans, and I've seen a number of people on social media saying that, look, especially for Africa, is a good one. Maybe we'll learn to take care of ourselves. There are also people who say that, look, the monies we receive in most parts of Africa from the USAID have been practically embezzled because nobody really sees the effect. That's some of the arguments.
So, so let me stretch the argument further.
All right.
Let's close our governments because funds are also being stolen. Let's dissolve our government and be government free. Because funds are also being stolen by the government. I think people who make such arguments do not consider the broader issues. You see, the USAID is American first responder to the world. And how did this start? It was in the time of an ideological conflict between the USSR and the United States.
Where we had a bipolar world.
The United States needed to reach out to countries and win their support.
That was the period of the I wanted to remember this time, the Cold War era.
The Cold War era. You have USAID that is everywhere playing different kind of roles, diplomatic roles and all that. Now, for Nigerians who don't understand what USAID means, it is that agency that the United States deploys to deal with so many problems around the world covertly. And let me give you one example that if you have anybody in your family who has HIV, that agency work a bush in Nigeria and has provided drugs for 1.9 million Nigerians in trying to combat AIDS. That right now is in danger. You might not be HIV positive, but there are people around you who ordinarily cannot afford this drugs.
If not for this intervention.
If not for this intervention. So those are the things you are praising that is cutting. But it's okay. Last, like they say, we will live. Now, but if your chief argument is that it's even good that he cuts it because the funds are being stolen. Our funds not being stolen by government officials from the government of Nigeria. Why have we not cut the government? So whether you like it or not, the USAID is being useful all around the world. It's helped to provide hospitals for children in some of the poorest countries in the world. It's provided drugs for pregnant women, built boreholes all over the world. Now, and the reason why he's doing this is because America is retreating from the war stage. And I don't have any issue with him, because he said during his campaign,
I will do this.
America is for Americans. Okay? So, and it's America first. So it's retreating from the world. But the danger, and you know, like I told you before we got into the studio, people forget that there was the Ottoman Empire. There was the Dutch Empire. There was also the Roman Empire. There was also the Mongol, and several empires that came before America. In fact, there was a time that America was engaged in ideological battle daily with the USSR.
That was the bipolar era.
Until Gorbachev arrived on the scene and introduced perestroika and glasnost. And then the USSR disappeared.
The Union went down.
So maybe this is Americans' time, because you see, nobody understands why in a bipolar world the country with the biggest influence is chosen to retreat from the global stage. You now see countries coming together to form an alliance and trying to dump the dollars. And one of the reasons why America is in control of the global economy, apart from the multilateral agencies and all that, is the currency. That you can go to anywhere in the world that is acceptable.
So when you pull back,
do you understand? So we're in an interesting time. But again, I also agree to some extent with those who say, well, necessity is the mother of invention. Maybe if we don't get this assistance from America, we could then summon
the courage.
Not just the courage. We can
initiate some good ideas to take care of ourselves.
To step in and fill the vacuum.
No, but Mr. Curtis, again, we talk about the Cold War era where you had two superpowers competing for dominance. Eventually, America came tops, and we now have a unipolar world of some sort where you have just one dominant superpower. For a lot of people who don't know, because again, I'd explained to people before the show that look, this is going to be an intellectual conversation, so remove the bias and sentiments. Just try and listen and learn.
My late father is not in the contest with the president of America, so I'm not.
Yeah, and so people need to understand that look, this is just having intellectual engagement. I remember that in some of our journalism classes, it was said that even apart from some of these agencies that had gone into different parts of the world to preach America's influence, to dominate the world, sell the capitalist idea, go into cultures, as little as even helping to set up radio stations to preach America's ideals.
Americans' ideas, the ideas of democracy,
their culture, their thinking. Look, people don't even know that the Hollywood was a creation of America's idea and influence. So people were watching American films. You wanted to talk like them. You wanted to think like them. Those were things the founding fathers of these nations did to ensure that America remained the superpower. By Sir Curtis, this American first ideology of Donald Trump, don't you think America is now in the Gorbachev era of the USSR?
And I look, I do agree with you. What also people do not understand is that America did not do these things for free.
Yeah, of course, it was to dominate.
USAID was also being used to establish and strengthen America's contact and reach in different parts of the world.
Businesses, commerce, trade. Yeah.
America cannot survive alone as a country. America has got Mobil, ExxonMobil in Nigeria. America has got Chevron. America has got Schlumberger, and so many companies, so many American companies that are functioning in this country. The USAID played critical role in reaching out to governments at every point in time. Okay, different countries in the world cooperated with America to make America pay. Look at the time an American was snatched. I think it was snatched from Niger and was sold to the bandits or Boko Haram in Nigeria. It took the cooperation of Nigerian security agencies for the Americans to storm this country and free the man. You understand? Look, when President Reagan war that came down alone and blocking the liberty to all citizens of the world to go down. You understand? So if he wants to rebuild those wars in the minds of people, and then physically, like he's going to do between America and Mexico, although America, by playing on the world stage. After the Second World War, when he played a pivotal role in defeating Japan and all that, America became the leader of the world, okay, as a counterforce against the USSR, until the USSR went down and became the biggest power in the world. When you look at the American economy is not self-sufficient. In fact, the Chinese today, if you go to the United States, all over their warehouses, the Chinese, there's hardly any good you see in America that is not produced by the Chinese.
Now, on the Chinese, but sorry to cutting, so that we just move some of these issues.
Look at this iPhone here.
Yes.
Take a carton of iPhone. What do you see there is designed in California, manufactured in China. So when you put tariffs on Chinese goods,
who are you hurting?
You're hurting your people, because, and that's not what you promised them. What you promised them is that, look, Joe Biden and co, through their cluelessness, has made living more expensive for Americans. The price of egg in one campaign, if you notice, he brought a crate of egg, he brought milk, he brought oat meal, and put everything and said, look, all the prices, but I'm going to bring them down. Now with the tariffs, the prices of these things are going up, and Americans are already crying out.
Because again, President Trump he has imposed a 10% tariff on Chinese imports as far as Tuesday, but he has held on, he has held and of course relaxed, stopped whatever threat he was going to give to Canada and Mexico. He said he was going to do a 25% on Canada and Mexico. I like the fact that Justin Trudeau seems to be stepping up.
Not only Trudeau. Look about President Sheinbaum of Mexico. They both of them immediately announced a 25% tariff.
Retaliation.
Yes, against America.
But Mr. Cox, before we go into this trade war, because again, it's almost like a trade war. I remember Justin Trudeau said that, look, this was a 2018 agreement that Donald Trump, President Trump, took part in signing. We stood together. We agreed. NAFTA.
Yeah, his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, led the effort.
Led this effort, Mexico, Canada, US. Suddenly, why the retreat? Why do you want to tear it apart? Why this renewed tariff war? There's something interesting that our own Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, who is the DG of the World Trade Organization, has also talked about that. Look, this is a familiar story. This is a film we've watched before.
It's a movie.
It's a movie and that, look, a repeat of it. It's not going to be anything palatable. This is something we should avoid, even though
America went into recession as a result of tariffs. Tariffs were first.
Okay, let's listen to Dr. Okonjo. It was an interview with Farid Zakaria of the CNN
in Davos,
Switzerland. So let's quickly listen to what she had to say about the dangers of what Mr. Trump is doing with this threat of tariffs and all of that against different countries of the world. We quickly listen to her, of course, an opportunity for Mr. Curtis to take some water. We'll be right back. Let's quickly listen to this.
For much of the last century, America has been the champion of free trade.
A tariff of 10% on China based on the fact.
But that's changed in recent years and is set to change even more dramatically under President Trump, who says he plans to throw up high tariffs on many of America's main trading partners. What should we make of this protectionist turn? Could it usher in a global trade war? For more, I spoke with Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, who is the Director General of the World Trade Organization. Madam Director General, pleasure to have you on.
Thanks. Good to see you again, Farid, and Happy New Year.
Thank you. So I've got to ask you, how do you think about this issue which everybody is talking about, which is that the creator, founder, underwriter of global free trade for the last 75 years, the United States, is clearly moving with the new Trump administration in a protectionist direction. He's talked about 10% tariffs, 25% tariffs, 100% tariffs. When you hear that, what do you think?
Well, thank you, Farid. A very good question. What I'd like to say is let's step back a bit. Over this past 5 years, at least since I've been Director General of the World Trade Organization, trade has been facing challenging times with increasing protectionism and protectionist measures, not just by the U.S. but several members. And that has been a cause for concern. But against that backdrop, I want to say something. When you look at the numbers, trade has been largely resilient. Trade, at $30.4 trillion is higher than the pre-pandemic peak. That's 1 point. Second, our latest numbers show that 80% of world trade is still going on WTO, most favored nation terms. So there's resilience, but yes, there's cause to worry. We're seeing increasing fragmentation and protectionism. We've done some work and we've shown that if we break into two, let's say, geopolitically divided trading blocks, we would end up with a 6.4% loss in global real GDP in the longer term. This is huge. This is an impact on everyone. And it's up to this is $6.7 trillion loss. It's like losing the economies of Japan and Korea combined. So we don't want to see this increased fragmentation because it's not good for anyone.
So what do you say to Americans who say, look, we like free trade, but the Chinese have not played by the rules, they've shielded themselves, they claim to be a developing country, their government subsidizes a lot of their, car manufacturers, whatever it is, and then we have to face that. That's unfair competition. Why should we not have tariffs?
Well, we say this. First of all, the WTO provides the forum to actually discuss and explore this problem. When you have complaints against a member, you launch your studies, you demonstrate how this is harming your economy, and then there are remedies that you can follow.
So you're not panicking about the Trump administration?
I'm not. To say that, yes, I have concerns, but I'm not panicking. I feel, actually, I've been saying to members here at Davos, let's chill. Let's not get too overexcited. And to our members, I've also been saying, look, let's not do any tit for tat. It's not when you hear something from one member, you immediately apply counter tariffs or do something else. Let's have a considered approach. We do have methods to deal with these issues and follow them.
But when you hear somebody like the Prime Minister of Canada, he's talking about retaliating and he says everything is on the table.
Politicians need to defend themselves, right, amongst their population. So I'm not surprised to hear that. But I do think that we have very responsible members, of which Canada is one, the EU, the US, and that they are trying to follow the paths. I've seen the EU launching investigations. China is doing the same. They have complaints against the EU, and we've said the same to them, and they're actually following that path. And there are very tough discussions going on between China and the EU now. So what we're trying to do is encourage greater transparency among our members, so we get the facts and we can actually have a considered and mature dialogue. That's what we want. We want not tit for tat. Look, we've been there before, Farid, when we had tit for tat. In the 1930s, the Smoot-Hawley Act resulted in this, and it worsened the Great Depression. And we've seen this movie before. So I'm encouraging members. I know we love reruns of old movies, but I don't think this would be a particularly good rerun.
Ngozi, pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Well, we've seen this movie before, but it's not going to be a pleasurable rerun if we decide to see the movie again. That's from our own
sequence of movies are always very poorly
done, poorly acted, and this is not a movie we want to see again. There are people who don't understand why it's very important to focus on what Donald Trump is doing. I think a lot of people never knew that, look, a war, for example, between Russia and Ukraine could lead to the price of bread going up in Nigeria.
They're the biggest.
They say it doesn't concern us until we now knew that, they are the largest suppliers actually of wheat to different parts of the world. This movie that we should not see again.
In Benue.
Yes.
They said, the mouth says, whatever happens to the teeth does not concern me. Until the teeth has started having problem and the mouth cannot open as a result of the pain. The world is intricately linked.
It's a global village.
It's a global village. What Trump is doing in America is going to have a global effect. And I'll explain to you. Why is he doing what he's doing? He feels that other countries, Canada, Mexico, China, are taking advantage of the United States because the trade balance is in favor of these countries as against America. But people do not understand that America has stopped being a global manufacturing giant long ago, because most of the big companies, moved out of America as a result of high cost of labor to countries like China and all that. Look, Tim Cook, the chief executive of Apple, said, look, they moved to China at some point because of cheap labor. But they are no longer in China as a result of cheap labor. They are in China as a result of the abundance of technical skills. China today has got more skills, abundant technical skills, than the United States.
Look at the AI battle.
In fact, in all kind of competition, today, Chinese universities are rating higher than many American universities. When exams are conducted in science and mathematics for countries around America, America hardly come top. They hardly come top. In fact, countries. So what is happening is that Mexico exports alone to America. It's over 500 billion. Why? Because most car manufacturing companies go to Mexico and then they move it into the American market. He wants to put a tariff on that because he wants the manufacturing to come into America. But look at Boeing, for instance. Boeing is an iconic American company. It's not doing well against Airbus. Today, so many airlines in America are using planes by Airbus. Okay? And then you look at Canada, vegetables, avocado, so many meat, so many things are coming from Canada. Now, when you put the tariffs on them, what it simply means is that the prices of those items will go up on the shelf, and it is the consumers that will pay the tariffs. And these were the same people he promised to help, because he claimed that the cost of living was too high. And now he started a war that they cannot finish. Do you understand?
I'm with you.
Now, when he saw the response from Canada and Mexico, he quickly backed down and said he was extending for 1 month for discussion. For discussions. But you know, his supporters are saying that he decided to relax because Canada and Mexico he succeeded in whipping them into line immediately. No, that's not the issue. The issue was that these two countries were also ready to impose tariffs to retaliate by imposing their own set of tariffs on very critical items that will affect living in America and make Americans' life more difficult. And that's why he pulled back a little. Now, the other thing people do not understand is that there are no countries that are too small anymore. Because even when you look at countries like Ecuador, Peru, and all that, if you go to grocery shops in America, there are a lot of things you see coming into America from these countries. So America, look, if this is an attempt to bring back American manufacturing, it's got an uphill task. Because look at it, for instance, in AI today, who is leading in the world? China is leading. In electric vehicles, who is leading in the world?
China is leading, clearly.
China. In telephone production, who is leading? In semiconductors, who is leading? In manufacturing, who is leading? So this is all he wants to stop. He wants to make America again, like he said, the manufacturing hub in the world. But the question is, can it compete? All they keep saying is that China is manipulating its currency. You understand? Of course. Every country has got to do things that will make it attractive. And that's why I say to you that, look, people say to me, oh, you know, we needed to like devalue the naira to make it attractive. Okay, we've devalued. What have we attracted?
Nothing practical.
Exactly. So what are we even manufacturing
to say we want to take out, or what's the environment we've created to
we are still struggling with stable light,
right? And want to attract people.
So we just put
burden on the people.
The cart before the horse.
Okay, but Sir Curtis, we take these three issues together. Again, President Trump has removed climate change mention from U.S. government website. He is a climate change denier. He doesn't believe anything climate change. He doesn't even believe on sciences. We're going to talk about it. And then there's this Musk's DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, that is also looking at reducing wastages, looking at government spendings, trying to cut down the size of government. You know, And that is also getting so concerning for the average American. In fact, a lot of them are now saying that, look, did we vote for Trump or Elon Musk? And I've seen the Western media also trying to create the narrative that, look, it's like Mr. Musk is in charge of the government, really, not Donald Trump. Now, Mr. Curtis, there are also people who have argued that, look,
so there are three issues.
Yes, three issues. Now, let's take the third one, which is the South African sanction.
Okay.
That look,
the first one is
that's climate change removed from all U.S. websites. The second one is this access. Although a federal judge has blocked that to say, look, you can't have unbridled access given to Elon Musk, who is just a businessman, a billionaire. That's a security threat really for the United States. And then, of course, there are sanctions now on South Africa, according to Donald Trump, because of some of their land policy. There are people who think that, no, it goes beyond that. There are people who have said that, look, he's looking at South Africa again because of their role in BRICS. There's also the Elon Musk conversation. He has his origin from South Africa. And there are people who are saying that, look, the things you are preaching against, you want to do. When you see other people doing it, you complain. You are encouraging the takeover of a land somewhere that does not even belong to you. But here, there are people who own the land saying that, look, the white guys should return it to us. You are sanctioning them. So let's put everything together, Mr. Curtis.
This is the global brand of hypocrisy.
All put together.
Don't we have in our country somebody who is on trial now for corruption, for supposedly awarding contract to companies where some of his distant cousins have shares? But don't we have the son of Oga? A company where is director? Don't we have
who are getting contracts too? And people say it doesn't matter.
So this is the same kind of situation we have globally. Now let me break it down. First of all, Donald Trump is a climate change denier. He doesn't believe it, and the reason why he doesn't believe it, all right, is because he feels that America has advantage when it comes to fossil fuel, and that China and others are the greatest world polluters, and so they are not committed to the climate change pact. Yes, and that they are just members, trying to hold back American huge manufacturing industry
potentials
from going forward. But he misses the point in the sense that flowing from the climate change, there's another huge industry, the solar system. That again, China
renewable energy that China is already running high.
Yes, whether it is wind pipe, it is
electric vehicles, clean energy,
and all that. China is also
moving very fast ahead of the US.
Very fast. Now, constantly he has denied, but the fact that even when you deny that the river does not exist, that does not mean the river doesn't exist.
You enter it, like will carry you.
Exactly. And climate change is real. Why did he move apart from politics? Why did he move from New York to Florida, Mar-a-Lago? It's also because of the weather. The constant snowing. Snowing in the northeast of America. All right. Now he's got to where he says he has his summer White House. That's what he calls Mar-a-Lago. Look at states like Houston. States like Texas and cities like Houston. States like Georgia, I was talking about Atlanta, where snow was strange. Now you have constant
snow in those cities.
Falling in this city. You can't say
the climate change is not real.
No, it's not real. But that's what he believes. And don't forget that most of the people who poured in money into supporting his candidacy and in supporting the Republican down the ticket for Congress, for everywhere, are people who have heavy investment in the fossil fuel industry. You're talking about the Koch brothers. One of them died, I think, about the Koch brothers. They have a huge investment. You talk about American Prosperity. That is the super PAC. The people who funnel funds there are heavy and big time owners of industries in the fossil fuel industry. And he believes that when gas is cheap in America, Americans get to make more profit from their businesses. Okay, government also gets to save money and all that. So, and that is why he feels that the best way to do that is to deny the climate change. But in my opinion, he can acknowledge that yes, climate change is a reality.
We need to create a balance.
But we can't go towards renewable energy. Electric vehicles,
more gradual
solar system. You go to a place like Germany, in Munich, they have a solar farm. There are industries and factories in the United States that don't even use any electricity anymore. They have a huge solar farm within their factory, and they even sell power
to their communities,
to the government of the United States. There are homes that have massive solar infrastructure, pay nothing to next to nothing in bills, in power bills, and then the government takes their surplus and then sell and then give them rebate for that. So I'm not surprised, but don't forget that it was one of the things he told his base, that this whole idea about climate change is to hold back American human manufacturing sector. So I'm not surprised. Now, the second issue
that's Elon Musk.
This
is the Department of Government of Efficiency.
That department never existed until now, when he signed an executive order to create it. And what he's saying is that there is no efficiency in the American system. In any case, if you are a Republican, you believe in a smaller government. Because the Republicans and the Libertarians think along the same line. The only difference is that Libertarians don't even believe there should be tax paying
at all.
You don't have to pay tax. Just go do your business, take care of yourself. But if you're a Republican, you believe that people should pay tax,
but you want a smaller government.
But you should cut taxes for the wealthiest, because according to you, it stimulates business
and growth.
But the evidence, the data don't support that. Now, so what you see him here doing is believing. But there are those who says, look, this is just a targeted adventure. He's targeting Democrats because he believes that a lot of Democrats are part of these government agencies.
He wants to purge them.
He's purged the Department of Justice already. All the lawyers that were involved in probing this January 6th have been asked to leave.
He's also investigating FBI agents.
Now, any FBI member who participated
in the investigation of January 6th,
they are going to go and all that. And then he said to all government departments, all government department workers, if you are willing to take 8 months' salaries and leave, we'll give you a contract to sign. I think so far, as of last week, 20,000 took the contract, but now a judge has stopped
it.
Because they are beginning to see that this is an attempt to get rid of certain individuals so that he can bring in certain people into the government, people that will work for him. Don't forget that he says right now, the number one factor for getting a job is loyalty. You have to be loyal to Trump. He said the first time when he came, he didn't have loyalty from some of his members. America is not, the system in America is not built for people to be loyal to the president.
To be loyal to the country.
They take an oath to be loyal to the country. And that's why you remember that Colonel who was in the White House when he took the call with President Zelensky. Colonel Alexander Vindman. He went out immediately and said there's something wrong with this call. The president was attempting a pre-coco with the president of Ukraine. If you don't give me this, I won't give you that. And this is a fund that was been approved by the Congress for Ukraine. That's how America runs, and that's why America is a great country
today. On the issue of
South Africa,
again, before we go to South Africa, there are predictions that look, Donald Trump, this romance, this beautiful relationship with Elon Musk will not last. Do you believe it will not last?
I also believe it didn't last in 2016. It's not expected to last, but I think it's going to last slightly
longer than what happened.
No, I don't think it will even last up to that, because I think it was the second or third year that he decided to leave the businessman committee that Trump set up to advise him.
So you think this is going to be a very short relationship?
I think so, because if you understand Trump, in the Trump universe, there's only one Trump. Every other person has to bow to that Trump. Now, one of the things that Trump loves so much and is never had is to appear on the front page of Time magazine. In fact, in 2016, he had to do a fake one to show that
he wanted it.
Yeah, he wanted it so badly.
I think he got it.
No, they didn't do it that time.
But now he got it.
No,
now that he came look,
they declared him as the man of the year.
Man of the year.
Yes, but in their cover of last week edition,
yes,
it was Elon Musk that was
of course
behind the
but when he won this election, he became the man of the year.
But he put Elon Musk.
But now Elon Musk right
front page, behind the Resolute desk in the Oval Office,
the president's desk.
This is the president of the United States.
And you think a Trump would not have seen?
In fact, there is a meme going out where Elon Musk was dressed like president and Trump was dressed like the first lady, holding hands.
So what do you think the media is doing?
These are all triggers. They are just triggering him.
And they know him. He has a thick skin. He has a thin skin.
They know. No, but look.
Yes.
When Steve Bannon, you know, who was his campaign manager?
Yes.
The last leg of that campaign in 2006 was hired and brought into the White House, and he was the policy director. And people were saying, "Oh, he was Trump's brain. He's behind everything."
Yeah, no.
They're touching
sensitive
nerves
of Donald Trump.
They know that they're going already. I mean, I think in an interview you gave 3 days ago when they said, "Oh, does he have the right to go to all departments and
that he said no, I have invitations. I will tell him where to go." Yeah, I knew that was a deliberate question because you had the journalist asking Donald Trump that this is an unbridled access. He can do whatever he likes, or there are specific areas you've told him not to get to. I knew it was a question.
So he moderated his answer because he wanted them to know that, look, yes, he has my powers, but he will only go to where I tell him to go.
The Japanese leader had come to the US and he also played into the emotions of Donald Trump. I've seen the media also identify that, look, here was a man that came in and had done a lot of research on Donald Trump. He kept praising him.
The world leaders had 8 years to figure him out. And that is why it's a delight for the Chinese to deal with the Trump. Because they know it's transactional.
And it's so easy to predict him.
It's also so easily given to self-praise. You know, just praise
because
him.
you had the Japanese leader saying, "Oh, I never saw I was going to see a celebrity. I'm so delighted to be standing side by side with a celebrity president." And he was so happy.
Everybody now knows how to deal with him. First of all, it's transactional and he loves praise. So just go give it to him and you get whatever you want.
All right.
But you know the choice of the 2 leaders that have visited him so far, Japan
and Netanyahu.
And Netanyahu is strategic. These are also big partners of the United States. One of the biggest military base in the world is in Japan. And also Japan is also a big trading partner of the United States. Electronics and so many things, AI and all that come from there. And then when you talk about South Africa,
South Africa and the sanction against South Africa.
Elon Musk, of course, is Dutch. He has his origin in Dutch. But he was born in South Africa. He has a South African passport.
Most of the whites in South Africa are Dutch.
He got into America through some of the programs that he now wants to cut and destroy. His mother, Maye, is from Canada. Elon Musk went to school in Canada and crossed over to America and had to get American citizenship through H1B visa.
H1B visa,
It was from there that he formed PayPal with Peter Thiel. Okay, and then later went into Tesla and all that.
And he's become one of the biggest contractors in the US government.
Of course, through NASA. And that's why people are talking about conflict of interest because he's also working for himself.
So would he have cut down his own interest when it comes to government spending?
Now, having said that, there's something that is troubling here, because Elon Musk is a clear advocate of immigrants coming from Europe and then white South Africans. It has just been added to the list. Is asking Donald Trump to grant more visas and allow more white South Africans to come to the United States, live and contribute their quota to the development of the country. At the same time, attacking President Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa because of the rumors that the president is about to embark on what former late President Robert Mugabe did. Because when you go to South Africa, really, you will discover that a small percentage of the people own almost all the lands, like you have in Zimbabwe. Farmers, industries that they have built over the years. And as a result of appetite, when you go to South Africa, that's the system. What you find on ground now is that you have a lot of white people with land, experts from land. And there's been call by poor South Africans for redistribution of some of these lands which was what the ANC promised on their platform. It is that issue now that Elon Musk is asking Trump to impose sanctions on South Africa. Because they say he wants to take land from white people and give to black people. So you can see how.
Because people have said that, look, if he says it's America first, and most of the white guys whose land have been taken are not even Americans, so why took his nose there?
So long as they have white skin.
Oh, but that's not America's fault.
It's fine. And then don't forget that he's going to impose sanction on a foreign country. Trump using sanction, as far as he's concerned, helps American first interests, so long as he's not putting boots on the ground. Now, I think one other thing you're going to talk about is how he revoked Joe Biden's.
Yeah, I'm going to get there. But before we get to Joe Biden's, access to classified documents, classified information, let's look at South Africa and Cyril Ramaphosa's decision to go the same way Zimbabwe had gone, which had led into serious economic crisis. He wants to go there. He wants to go there. We've seen this play out too in Zimbabwe. Robert Mugabe started this nationalist, movement of taking farms from white settlers, giving it to blacks, and they weren't able to run it. Today, one of the most impoverished nations in Africa is Zimbabwe. They have a very terrible currency. Inflation has gone through the roof. There are people who have said that, look, Cyril Ramaphosa should be very careful because, yes, you can talk about equity in land distribution, but again, what about the capacity of the blacks who you want to give this land to be able to run these farms profitably? Don't you think that it could be counterproductive at the end of the day?
My answer is simple. Every politics is local, and political sentiments, public sentiment, like according to President Abraham Lincoln, is everything. It drives policies. Okay, unlike in the United States where public sentiment has stopped being a factor because of a counter-majoritarian institution like the Supreme Court that has gone constantly against public opinion. Now, having said that, I think that President Cyril Ramaphosa would have learned one or two things from what happened in Zimbabwe, and that is why he's a bit measured and cautious
about
on that. But for Trump to begin to interfere from outside, I think it's wrong. That's a dig on the sovereignty of South Africans. It's like Cyril Ramaphosa saying to Trump, "You cannot have the DOGE, you cannot have the Department of Government Efficiency."
But there are also people who think that, look, he's also targeting South Africa because of their role
in BRICS.
In BRICS, that's number one. Then also South Africa was one of the first countries that filed a case against Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel, saying that, look, what is happening in Gaza is genocide.
Genocide, yeah.
So do you also think there's a BRICS conversation, and of course the position of South Africa as far as Gaza is concerned? It could also be the reason why Trump has a problem with South Africa.
You are right, and this group blind Fidel Castro,
who decides for us?
You see, what you don't understand is that your enemies are not our enemies.
You can't tell us to inherit your own enemies.
We can inherit your enemies.
You can't tell us who we should make our friends.
Exactly. So this is the group.
That's Mandela saying it.
Yes. And this is one of the reasons why American foreign policies has failed so many parts of the world. In Vietnam, they didn't understand that there are internal factors, and that the groups in Vietnam, yes, may be Chinese, but there are differences. They also went to Afghanistan, not knowing that the ethnic makeup of Afghanistan, the Tajik, the Pashtuns,
the Taliban,
and these are different groups, and they have different expectations. It's just like looking at Nigeria and saying North and South.
Do you
understand?
Yes.
Or they went to Venezuela, and they didn't see that there's a difference between the mestizos and the black people. All right, the Indians from Barinas, as Hugo Chavez used to call himself, with big ears, dark body.
You have their own distinct features and
and so this blindness, this failure to distill down and see differences
in people, ideas, orientation,
and ideas, and just saying we will just go there. It's either black or white, good or evil. To America, the world is either good or bad. You understand? It's either you are friends or you are axis of evil. But that's not how it works.
Yes.
So this is the problem. And he feels that he can impose sanctions on South Africa because South Africa is a member of the BRICS. Don't forget that he threatened that any country that joins BRICS is going to impose 100%
and abandons the dollar.
Yes, on them.
On them.
So what Nigeria has just been recognized as an associate member of the BRICS.
We might get our own sanction very soon. So for people who think that look, we are immune, some of these things will just come. Now, he's revoked Joe Biden's security clearance and access to daily intelligence briefings. That was on Friday. Something Biden did to Trump 4 years ago. Again, Biden has said that look, after the insurrection, we can't trust these guys. To have daily briefings. And Donald Trump is not hiding it. You did it to me in the past. I do it to you again. He talked about it. So
that's
do you think this is just being petty, or you think that look?
I think he's been vengeful.
Okay.
And there are those who will tell you that he has the right to do so, and he has done so. Not only Joe Biden, he revoked it for General McMilley, who was his Joint Chief of Staff when he was president, the man who said he's fascist, and that he's done it to so many. He's even withdrawn security for McMilley, knowing that the Iranians have threatened him with death. So for me, look, it's just.
Does it change anything really for Biden? You think Biden?
No, Biden has still got his security details around him as a former president. Now, the only reason, in fact, even as a former president, you don't get briefings on the top secret. For instance, let's say when Obama was going to go after Osama bin Laden, right? Former presidents were not informed.
It was the decision there, right?
It was the decision that was taken with that small group of people, military experts and top political leaders.
Yes, yeah.
Now, but the presidential daily briefing, which is given to sitting president and former presidents in some cases, is just to keep them abreast of development all over the world. But you don't make the decision. What you can do is to call the current president and say, I have just been briefed on this issue, and I think this is the way you can deal with it.
Attend to it.
Just like when Obama was leaving and he told Trump, I think the biggest issue you are going to face is North Korea. Okay?
So he wants to deal with it.
And the reason why Biden revoked, his security clearance was because Biden felt that at the time he was facing the problem of having taken classified documents into his house, and so they felt that he could not be trusted. But as president, he has the right, and he has done what he wants to do. So I mean, if he's tit for tat, that's fine. But the essential thing is that as the president of the United States, he has the right. And see, this is why some people did not know why Biden had to pardon General McMilley and others, even when they had not been charged for any offense.
Anticipatory pardon.
It was based on the threat from Trump. Don't forget that if it wasn't for that pardon now, Trump, according to Steve Bannon, should call General Milley back from retirement, put him back on his uniform and court-martial him and dismiss him from the military. That means he loses all the benefits for rising to the top of his career. So people need to understand. Yes, he promised he was going to be vengeful, and he was going to take vengeance on so many people.
Who have gone after him too, according to him.
Yeah, he's doing that.
Okay, we look at two other issues, a long list really, but there are people who also think that, look, well, here's a man that loves Christianity, and he has announced a task force to tackle anti-Christian bias in the U.S.
But by the way, there's no bias against Christianity in the U.S.
He has set up a task force.
So that's red meat to his base.
Evangelical base.
Now there is infighting among the evangelical base, because last night I was told he appointed Paula White as his advisor on faith issues in the White House.
Faith issues.
That didn't go well with most evangelical leaders who believed that she was too controversial
to lead that
and that wasn't exactly a godly person and all that. So that's one. Now the other thing is that I am a Christian, and one thing that I know about Christianity is that a central plank of Christianity is that you have to accept that you are a sinner. You were born in sin, and that you have sinned against God, and you have to confess that sin for God to forgive you. And then you become a Christian. You're not just a Christian
because you profess it,
or because you bear a Christian name. Trump said he had no sin.
No sin.
They asked him one day, have you ever asked God for forgiveness? He said he has no sin. So he didn't need to ask God for
Any
forgiveness.
forgiveness.
So I'm not going to make that judgment whether it's a Christian or it's not a Christian. 2, he went to Liberty University in Virginia. Asked his favorite passage in the Bible. He said it was 2 Corinthians instead of 2 Corinthians.
Maybe he doesn't even read.
He went to the National Cathedral and held the Bible upside down. So, I mean, I'm not God. I mean,
of course, yeah.
When you
to decide whether it's a
when
Christian.
you talk to Americans who are his supporters, they say God can use anybody. And after all, God used King Cyrus in the Bible. And so I said, okay, if God can use anybody,
Yes.
why do you guys Republicans think that God cannot use the Democrats?
Only Trump.
Or vice versa? or only Trump? So I think that, like a Harvard law professor said, that Trump understood Republicans.
He knew what he wanted to hear.
No, don't forget that in 2008, candidate Obama gave a speech where he said the evangelicals and Republicans are people who care about their Bibles and their guns. And that's the First Amendment right. I think the First Amendment or Second Amendment, Second Amendment right. He wants laws that will strengthen gun ownership for Americans. Okay? And so Christianity is not under threat in America by any group of people. Just that different groups of Americans exercising their rights granted to them by the Constitution are living their lives in a way that offends the group that calls themselves the evangelicals. But the fact is that just the way the evangelicals are offended by these guys also
feel offended by what the evangelicals are doing.
Exactly. I mean, like I explained to you one time, that in America, the politics in America is using religion. Okay? Religion crept into politics, or politics crept into religion. And people are expressing their racial bias using religion.
Yes.
And I give you an example. In 1980, Ronald Reagan, an atheist who didn't believe in God
at all,
but had the right language, the right evangelical language. He said, oh, it's going to be money again in America. You know? Ran against a pastor president, Jimmy Carter.
And defeated Jimmy Carter. Who was a Christian in and out.
In fact, it was the most comprehensive victory in any U.S. election.
Landslide.
In decades. He won 489 electoral college votes.
Yes.
489 out of 538. Just left about 49 electoral college votes for Jimmy Carter. Okay? In 2016, Herschel Walker, former football player, accused by different women of sexually assaulting them, asking them to do abortion, was up against Raphael Warnock. Warnock, of course, at the time was the pastor of the Ebenezer Church, where Martin Luther King once preached.
The other man won.
Again, the evangelical support.
Even people have questions. Even people, well, we are not. Nobody's got to judge.
Raphael won.
Yeah.
Again, so what I'm saying is that you can't even say God has called you or that you are a pastor, and yet you hate people who don't have the color of your skin. That's what we saw in the last American election. You saw videos of pastors saying, if you're a Democrat, you are African American, just get out of the church. We don't want you. Just get out. And they said, Trump is God sent. Look at his nominees. Peter Hegseth, Secretary of Defense. All right? Married 3 times. Came to the swearing ceremony with 7 children with his current wife. Admitted before the congressional committees that the sex he had with 3 women who petitioned against him were consensual.
Yeah.
Asked by Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia whether he felt that was disqualifying. The fact that he was in marriage and he was sleeping with other women.
Yes.
He said he was a changed man. His own mother wrote to the Congress to say, my son is not good for women. Don't confirm him. But the Secretary of Defense, because Trump threatened all the Republican members.
Even apart from his nominees for different appointments, even the Trump.
Look at the one for transport.
For transport, yes.
His picture is just going around now, naked pictures in clubs.
So where are the Christian values, really?
Again, I said I'm not going to judge anybody.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say this. Look at this nominee.
Because of time, by Curtis. There are people who also think that, look, Trump's stand on LGBTQ, transgender, these issues are also the reasons why a lot of Christian faithfuls, the evangelicals in the US, seems to love him. He has taken a position. It's either you are a man or a woman, and he has extended it further. By Curtis, he has banned transgender competitors from women's sports. So don't you also think that, look, apart from the issues of his personal behavior, the behaviors and attitude and lifestyle of some of his appointees and nominees, what about his stand on transgender LGBTQ is also one of the reasons why
this again is
Christian faithfuls and
is a red meat. Like I told you, the Republican National Conference is not against gay.
The RNC
is not against gay. In fact, like I told you, there is a group called Gays for Trump, and the leader of that group is Peter Thiel.
So there are also people in the LGBTQ who support him.
Of course, and you saw that even in his wife Melania in her memoir.
So when he says it's only male or female, those ones just think it's a joke.
Again, during his swearing ceremony, you saw Tim Cook, chief executive of Apple, right in front there. Tim said one of the greatest blessings God gave him is being gay, openly gay.
And Tim Cook is one of the founders of Apple.
Yeah. Elon Musk has got, I think, about 10 children now from 4 or 5 women.
That's one reason he hates Democrats.
And he's angry that his daughter converted without his permission and has changed. So, look, Trump himself, I think this is his third marriage. He was married to Ivana. That's the mother of Ivanka. And then he was married to Maples, who is the mother of Tiffany, the one that is married to the Nigerian guy, the blues guy. And now he has Melania, the mother of Baron.
Baron, the young man.
Now, so, and then there has been also cases of like him sleeping with Stormy Daniels and others. And then the woman, Agent Carol, who said she was raped in a changing room of a shop in New York. Of course, the court agreed with her, found Trump guilty of sexual assault, and imposed a lot of fines on him. Now, what I'm saying is that the Republicans and the evangelicals do not have problem with this character manifestation just because he's saying what they want to hear, and because he's seen as against gay. But I told you last week, nobody became gay as a result of government policy. Nobody will stop being gay
because of any government
policy. What they would do is to go into hiding for the time being or stop identifying as gay. But that does not stop them from carrying out the
principle. It's not a policy matter, really.
It's not a policy matter. And don't forget that the U.S. Constitution protects them. There are judgments, decisions by the Supreme Court that upholds their right to be American citizens and to have their sexual preference. So all that cannot be stopped by mere policy. Now, but I support him that if you identify as a woman,
you can play women's sports. But if you are male and trans,
but my position is that if you have done the surgery and you are properly converted
to a woman,
if you no longer have the man's sexual organ, but you have that of the woman, and you're properly, and I think that the reason why he's saying that is that these people, even though, but you know what? Let me tell you something. From the early 1990s, when acceptance rate of gays in America was below 12% or thereabout, as I speak to you, it's over 70%. Many households in America have got gay people. Okay, I told you about the former Vice President Dick Cheney, who was very critical. But when he found out that his daughter, I told you about Senator Rob Portman of Oregon, the same thing. I told you about Kemema, who was an advisor under President George Bush, was very extremely critical about gays, but he was gay himself. I told you about former governor of New Jersey, McGreevey, who had to come out because his Israeli lover was about to out him. And there's so many of them like that. In Europe, for instance, Iceland elected the first openly gay prime minister. So,
and so no policy.
It's not a policy. It's not a policy issue.
Okay, all right.
In any case, Trump is going to be there for only 4 years. What if American elects a president who is not openly critical and against gay?
Or who is even a gay?
Or who is even a gay?
Things can happen.
Of course.
All right.
Pete Buttigieg,
yes,
former transport secretary, did well in the primaries before he dropped out.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Curtis Adigo. I think it's been an interesting conversation, really dissecting the 3 weeks of President Donald J. Trump. It's been mixed reactions, really, from all of the policies that we've been seeing. He's been signing executive orders.
But you are going to hear now that I'm against Trump.
Well,
I hate him.
Perception sometimes is stronger than reality in the minds of a lot of people, really. But I think what we've done, really, over the last 1 hour, 30 minutes is just really to dissect the issues. You know, it was almost like an academic class for me, really, because of the history, the perception, the details, you know. So I enjoy these conversations because, again, this is good knowledge, really, about international politics and the policies of the United States of America. Again, when America sneezes, the rest of the world catches cold.
Look, even right now, what people do not understand is that America is not one. You have the country sharply divided
yes,
between the Democrats and the Republicans.
Yeah.
In the Senate, the difference is only 3 votes, 47-50.
Yes.
If you add a case of a tie, because you almost all the time you have Senator Susan Collins, Alicia McCoskey of Alaska.
You get any?
Yes. Joe. When you look at the result of the last election, when you see how secretaries are being confirmed or brought forward to the Senate,
really,
you will see that at the committee level is 9-8. All the Democrats vote on their side, all the Republicans vote on their side.
Okay, very interesting times, really. So much to talk about, you know, but I decided that we're just going to focus on this so that we can really dissect American politics as it's going. 09136000410 09136000410. Political Roundtable, Mainland 19.3 FM. We take the first call for the evening. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening. Yes, good evening.
During the Cold War, 1976, the Church of Mary sank near American coast of Atlantic. 1989, Berlin Wall was fell. Those years, Civil War was stopped. USSR was broken and about 8 more countries. America also China saw Paramount Square crushing of Chinese citizens in 1989. 1990, Mandela was released. Now, you are expecting Ukrainian flour. What do you have to land whether for Ebano to copy? They were waiting for Niger. They were waiting for Pedro to go. Okay, I don't expect any color from Ukraine. We have everything. If you join America, you go everybody. We join we have budget leader. Oligarchs, sophisticated, totalitarian, cannibalistic leader. That's the problem of Nigeria.
Okay.
That's the problem of Nigeria.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You are right, but let me tell you that countries have different advantages.
Yeah.
There are countries in the world.
Okay, let's just take this call, Pastor, because you talk about. Yes, hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Please,
your name and location.
Your knowledge about the US.
Hello, sir. Your name. Very important.
Yeah, 𝐴𝐾 calling from 𝐴𝐵utimate.
All right,
sometimes I feel I don't need any introduction, but then
no, for people who are maybe listening to you for the first time, we know you.
I understand. Barrister, you will help us with one thing. This your analysis, and we need handouts. You will publish the handout on Wednesday so that we will be able to at least read through and on Sunday.
Joshua, we are streaming the show live on Facebook and YouTube.
I used to write long articles on the U.S. election.
Yes,
but I stopped for some time now. So.
Yeah.
But if you want to listen again, you can always watch our shows where Barrister has talked about U.S. politics and international politics.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you again.
One thing I think about Donald Trump is I don't believe he's a deep Christian. He's not a deep Christian. He only believes in maybe aggressive fight
against anything that want to even affect Christianity but not a deep Christian like that.
Right.
He doesn't know the Bible too well.
I don't know about
I'm very certain about that.
Hello, good evening. 09136000410. Hello, good evening.
Hello,
Good evening.
Pastor Reverend Fuad.
Pastor. Okay.
Alhaji Fuad. Pastor Curtis, how are you, my brother?
I'm fine, thank you.
We have Ambassador Uzwa here from Mission.
Ambassador, please go on.
Yeah, Pastor Curtis, you have said it all. But one thing that baffles me that, and I think Donald Trump should watch his back. He should know that all the superpower, America is not the superpower, but they may be the police of the world. All the powerful and also Asia, they are watching. Look, he should tread softly. That more people are wiser than him. It's possible.
I was going to say that people don't understand that countries have some comparative advantage. Now, Ukraine, by their weather, much better for wheat production. That is not to say Nigeria. Well, in fact, we produce wheat in Nigeria, but we are not the biggest producer of wheat in the world. Just like we are not the biggest producer of apple. There are countries that
produce apple because of their weather, their soil.
So it's not everything.
And then for Barrister Kubuko, for Professor Kubuko, we are actually not even talking about leaders for today. Let's just focus on American politics.
I better give them some more.
Let's just rest. We'll come back to talk about it. Yes. Hello, good evening.
A very good evening to the two wise men in the studio.
Yes, good evening, sir.
In fact, Master Curtis, well done.
Your name and location, sir.
My name is YS, calling you from Amuodosu.
All right, please go on, sir.
Number one, after these 4 years, do they not elected somebody who will destroy the world? That's it. Another question. This man, the way Master Curtis talk about him, and the way we saw this action, this man is not bringing peace into the world. When you are sending 2 million people for their homeland, for their fatherland, to a strange land to become an errand boy, is it right? This man, if he cook for the world will eat the food within a second. But if the world cook for him, he can never swallow it. And it's bringing trouble. And you want to stand up against this man. Number one, this man is a considered man. What did you want to bring to the world? But if he can't bring peace, he won't want to rise up against Trump. Good evening to you, my friend.
Good evening, Prince Wise from Amuodosu. Hello, good evening. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Yes. Good evening.
My greeting to Barrister Curtis Adiga.
Yes.
Thank you.
You are doing a great job.
Yes.
Happy Sunday.
Your name, sir, and location.
Okay, this is Balala calling from Agodo.
Okay, please go on, Balala.
Okay, sir. So, to my own perspective, I like what Trump is doing.
Okay.
You see, any country that their leader is serious, he will do something that will benefit the citizens of that country in future. Not a present situation that the leader will be looking at. But in our own country, you see the way our own president is doing. Nothing, all the policy that is doing is just causing confusion up and down. Too far now. Themselves on top of one issue. And you are still posting that you don't have the of removing the first subsidy. Can you see the effect?
All right.
I just get you from there.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Hello, good evening. I was hoping I would not talk about our leaders. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, good evening.
This is Kenny from Mushin.
Oh, Mr. Kenny, please go on, sir.
Mr. Fuad, I'm Curtis.
Yes, you're welcome, sir.
Well, thanks for...
Please, can you reduce the volume of your radio set or just switch it off? We are getting this feedback.
Thanks for the in-depth analysis on the American political structures. And the question I also want to ask Mr. Curtis is this: do you think this man will survive the next 4 years? I'm not talking about the world, the country itself. Now he's saying that Americans should, the policy is speaking for in terms of tariff on all these countries. If it brings things to them now, do you think the Americans who have enjoyed luxury can enjoy things? That's why he said back to the issue of Mexico and Canada, pushing for the next one month. I want Mr. Curtis to tell us, Do you think this man will survive internally?
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I think he will survive, but I want you to understand the American system. In the next 2 years, there will be what is called the midterm election. And in the midterm election, 1/3 of the Senate and the entire House, 400, I think it's 435 or so, will go for another set of election. If the Democrats take the House, which is most likely
going to happen,
because right now the difference is just 5. If the Democrats, because it's now there's the backlash. If you see, even people who voted for him
are now complaining,
say this is not what they expected him to do. There's a lot of backlash. If they take over the House from him, then that will store most of his policies, and that is what people are hoping. But in the next 2 years, he's going to do all that he's going to do. I mean,
bumpy ride, all true. All right.
Except where those 3 senators again pull back on his agenda.
And ensure there's a proper check. All right. 09136000410. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Barrister, good evening.
Good evening.
Well, my name is Lord from Yanakbajad.
Please go on.
To listen. I wanted to listen. I don't want to call, but one of our call was saying that Donald Trump wanted to destroy the whole world because of the policy. So this is what I say. We pay fight for everything. It's not our own. It's bad, but it's our own. Is good. Donald Trump and Nigeria, who is the best president now? Nigeria, they have not destroyed Nigeria, but you are supporting Nigeria president that is doing well. You say Donald Trump is not doing well. It's not the problem. So we should be sincere. America is better than Nigeria. Donald Trump is better than Nigeria president tomorrow. So let them do their own. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
So, you know how I used to say it? My teeth is good, but your teeth is bad.
But I was hoping I would not even do any comparison. Really, will not talk out. I just wanted us
to. You can't control that.
I know. I was hoping I would just focus on. Let's take this call and then we'll deal with some of the messages we have on Facebook. Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, good evening.
I'm calling from Ojo.
Sorry?
Calling.
Okay, Mr. Ban calling from Ojo, please. All right, go on, sir.
Yes. Yeah, what I can just, I listened to the analysis of Barrister Curtis and he made in-depth analysis, from his own perspective, and I enjoyed it. But one thing I feel with Trump is that he's negotiating for his people. All these policies, he's negotiating for his people.
I agree with you.
For his country. He's making negotiation, and the target is all about his people. How is it going to be better than the state in which they are presently, socially, economically, and otherwise? And in respect to whatever.
Yeah, LGBTQ.
Let me just ask, what benefit has it brought to the socio-economic and political development of America? I believe this can need to be fight globally. If you can we analyze what this transformation or what this agenda, what positivity is it bringing to the world generally? So we need to analyze all these things in order not to allow confusion and all the rest. You will not be able to identify who is who on the road anymore. Is this one a male? No, we just need to be serious about this thing.
All right.
Besides being going spiritual, let's just look it from the physical perspective.
Okay, thank you so much.
And come to a decision.
Okay, well, you wanted to.
I think you need to understand that is who they claim to be, and it's not about advantage. But if you're talking about the contribution that they have made, I think you know that majority of the top designers in the world are gay people. I don't know if you know about that. Yes. Top people including
in the fashion world.
Tom Ford, Marc Jacobs, Dolce and Gabbana, all of them, so many of them. And then economically, there are also things that they have created that takes care of their huge population. That is creating job for some people.
But you, for Africans, we have this. It's just there's a way it annoys our thinking. It annoys our sensibilities. And so I think what he's just saying is that, look, instead of going to spiritual, we need to address it. A lot of us are afraid, really, that, look, this is a culture that could infiltrate our societies and then it becomes a serious problem.
I think this is the problem. This is the problem for me. I think it's their push.
the approach.
The push.
Okay, the push.
By that community to be accepted
by everybody and anybody in the world.
I think that's the only problem. If not, when two adults, male and female, go into their bedroom, who knows what they do? How is that my problem? What they do behind their curtain? I think the push
of these LGBT guys to say it's a global thing and push.
Yes, and that is because they also want to be accepted like others. They look at you and say, okay, this is a man and a woman. They want to be accepted. But what if I don't want a woman? What if I'm a woman? I don't want another man. Do you understand? And I'm not saying
it's the right thing. Yeah,
I am simply saying this is who they are, and they want to be accepted. Okay. So there was
how did the whole thing even start? Because some of us look back and say, look, maybe because there was no social media, the media space was not at this big.
It's huge.
It's huge.
It's huge in Nigeria here. Extremely huge. In fact, I saw a woman who tweeted from Abuja that if they say your husband is cheating, you better pray.
I know the partner
that he's cheating with a woman and not with another man. Very huge.
It has gotten to that level.
Yes.
All right, let's quickly deal with some of the messages we have on Facebook, and hopefully we'll still be able to take one or two more calls before we call it a day on the show. Abdurrafiu Alabalakwe, of course, always the first to drop a message. Says, well, I greet you guys fantastically. Happy Sunday, Alabalakwe from Sabo Jewoniba. Seeing Donald Trump coming out to fight everyone this time around, well, I want to beg him to consider ordinary Americans first, because most of these steps will definitely come back to America either in positive or negative way. That's Alabalakwe from Sabo Jewoniba. We have great Sunday evening to international discourse, and that's from Atondaka Ode Samuel. We have John Bernardo saying, good evening, Mr. Fᴏʟʟᴏ and able barrister. Talking Trump taking over Gaza is a complete wrong idea. The best he could do is to allow the Palestinian authorities led by Mahmoud Abbas to take control of Gaza. Policy on the issue of other races in America. Most of these, those coming from Middle East, even after getting citizenship, they still pay their alliance to their countries of origin. Basil Chika is saying President Trump seems to have been working tirelessly from day one he was in office, which he didn't shy away from when canvassing for the votes. And this is what we are seriously lacking in Nigeria. But I will advise he should tread softly and be taking it bit by bit, so that when the stumbling block arises, can quench it with little or no effort. That's Chika Bender from Trade Fair. And Fred A. Isua is saying Democrat supporters in Nigeria are so pained for how Trump demolished them during the election. This man is still still talking about elections. Anyways, we have Benjamin. Yes,
you're definitely going to have people like that. They don't even understand the issues.
I was hoping that people would try to listen and get educated about some of these things. Who is talking about elections? You know. Anyways, we have Benjamin Ise, who is also saying, good evening, for and in the studio. For me, President Trump is President of America. Trump campaigned in the soil of America to solicit for their vote. From day one of his campaign, he told them what he's going to do if he wins the election. American people heard him clearly, and he won. To me, he's fulfilling his purposes to America, unlike our country where Nigeria president do the opposite. Can we leave America alone and develop our own nation with our resources?
How can you leave America alone? Are they leaving you alone?
They are not leaving you alone.
You're controlling your country
through proxies, through policies and ideas. That was why we dissected this for you to understand.
Your president, didn't your president tell you that he will continue with the policies of Buhari? He's not doing that. At least give him credit for that.
Oh my goodness. So we are going to start for the Bible prophecy, which I strongly believe showed that Angelo America, world power, is the last world power to rule the world. So be it China or Russia can dethrone America. I strongly support Trump. I think nobody can dethrone Americans
fantastic
supremacy.
Fantastic.
Okay, it's refined to the Bible.
But I mean, look, the reality is that Americans are going to pay for more for goods as he goes into trade war. Nobody is folding their hands and waiting for America to ride roughshod over them.
And I'm sure you listen to
even if Nigeria today imposes tariffs on Nigeria will impose tariffs on American goods
and
coming in here too.
And that's what 괶ᴏᴜᴜ is warning against. We've seen this movie before. Don't let us have a replay.
I'm talking about wiping out the economy of Korea, South Korea and Japan. The aftermath effect
yes,
of the trade war.
And if there's a global recession, you in Nigeria would also feel it very, very hard.
The recession of 2008 started from America.
And it swept through the entire world.
Exactly. So people just think that This thing is, America is far away.
There is nobody. It's a global village, and I think you need to understand that. We have Azan Kennedy saying, I also enjoy analysis from Barrister Curtis and Mr. Fuad. I also enjoy the way Sage anchors the daily news. I don't joke with your programs. Please keep it up. Okay, thank you so much, Azan Kennedy. We have James Nwachi saying, distinguished Fuad and my revered Barrister Curtis, I greet you fundamentally. Mr. Fuad, to tell you the truth, I'm beginning to like foreign politics because of the way Barrister Curtis is breaking it down for us. Ordinarily, I would have just given up on today's edition, but I'm loving it. Barrister Curtis, I think you would make a good lecturer of history and international law and diplomacy. I need to come and meet you for more lecture. But my question is this: if Trump decides to go into a trade war with Nigeria, do we have anything we can use to retaliate against America in terms of export? James Ogbonna from Oshodi.
If he imposes tariffs on Nigeria, the American goods that are coming into Nigeria, we also impose tariffs on them.
I think he will not even think about us.
That's the way. No, that's the way it works.
And look to the if Canada and Mexico can stand up to him, he says a whole lot about.
They're already standing up to him because Canada is the biggest trading partner of the United States.
Yes, the largest trading partner,
followed by Mexico.
Yes, and
you know what? China exports a lot of steel to Canada. Because they don't want to bring it directly
to the US
because of the tariffs. So when you impose tariffs and America and Canada retaliates, American steel companies are not enough. So this is a murky issue. People just think that
it's not just to jump into
country is so powerful and then you write. No,
you're as powerful as the alliances, the friendships, and the trade agreements you've been able to build over the years. Well, we have D Alpha saying, good evening, Alhaji Fuad and Barrister Curtis. I'm enjoying your analysis. You are doing well. Andose Campbell, I greet you, Fuad and Barrister Curtis. Trump and his staunch supporters are gradually coming to terms with the fact that their champion cannot bully the rest of the world. The withdrawal of the US from some organizations will demystify it and make it to lose its prestige as the number one global superpower. Some countries, especially the Arab monarchies in the Gulf region, may step in and increase their contributions to the institutions left by the US. About this animosity towards South Africa, it also stems from the decision of South Africa to take Netanyahu to International Criminal Court. I think we mentioned that. Yes. It's also part of the issues. We have Tᴏɪᴛᴛᴇʀ saying, kudos, Barrister Curtis. I love your analysis on international politics, so insightful and apt. John Bernardo is saying, please let Nigeria act as Canada and Mexico and others did. Then Lukman Oladipo from Dakar, Senegal is saying, Agbadu na well, good job. Though far away from home, but your analysis are great value to me. Well,
what people don't understand really is that today, the way the world is structured, no one country can bully all the other countries. Do you understand?
You step back, somebody steps in.
You have Americans who are living in other parts of the world,
doing business,
doing their businesses. You have a lot of Americans living in China. Okay, America imports a lot of things from China and exports a lot. Look, American pork. China consumes the largest portion of American pork, and what China has simply done is to put tariff on the pork. If American cannot sell their pork in China, you understand.
And the other pork producers who can also step in, and
China is beginning to export pork from Nigeria too, and some other parts of the world.
So it could even be beneficial as well. All right, thank you, Barrister Curtis. I think it's been an interesting run, really, with dissecting the 3 weeks so far of President Donald J. Trump, the 47th president of the United States of America. It's going to be an interesting ride. I'm actually looking up to the midterm elections in the next 2 years or so. It will be nice to see whether anything will flip, whether there's going to be a balance of some sort.
And if history is anything to go by, Americans do not love to give their country to one party. They don't like to give the White House and the two arms of the Congress.
You're predicting the Congress will flip?
Just look back history. Very rarely has the party in power occupying the White House held on to the two arms. Of Congress. Obama, of course, was a clean sweep in 2008.
But when the midterm elections were held,
2010 midterm election, he lost the House. Okay, which brought the Republican majority. Donald Trump himself in 2016 was a clean sweep for the Republicans.
2018,
in 2018, he lost the House. Joe Biden, of course, was a clean sweep.
2 years after he lost the House.
So he lost the House.
Okay, we'll wait to see whether history will repeat itself. Thank you so much,
Thanks for
helping us really to dissect all these issues. My name is Said Fuad. This is where we call today on the show. Let's do this again next week.